Okay, so the topic of this is Ludum Dare. So Ludum Dare is a weekend-long game jam that I have been doing for the last couple of years, off and on. It runs 3 times a year. It's usually in April, September, or April, August, and December. So it's 3 times a year, and lots of cool stuff comes from it. So what is Ludum Dare, or Ludum Dare, or a million ways to pronounce this? Well, it's an online game jam. So it's an event. There's a huge community. A lot of people actually come in and submit games for this. So before the event, the community votes for a specific theme. It undergoes what they call theme slaughter. So they take in a bunch of different theme ideas. People vote on it for the themes that they want to actually make a game for. So 30 plus themes enter. One theme leaves. Usually, there's been some exceptions. And then at 9 p.m. on Friday, they announce what the theme is and go. You have the weekend to cram out a game using that theme. And then at the end of the weekend, you submit your game. And people play the games. And a big part of it is actually judging the games. So you'll play a bunch of other people's games. You'll vote on how their game did in a bunch of various categories. From just like gameplay to audio to how well it fit the theme to... was it fun? What was the mood like? That kind of stuff. And then top games get recognition. There's no like cash prizes or anything like that. But the game development community really like that title is kind of prestigious. A lot of cool stuff happens from it. So there's actually 2 kind of competitions within Ludum Dare. You have the Ludum Dare Compo, which is the more serious competition. It's for one person only, so no teams, just you. You have 48 hours to finish, so it starts at 9 p.m. on Friday. You have 9 p.m. till Sunday to complete a game. And you must make absolutely everything with that in that game. So all of the assets, all of the musics, all of the code and gameplay elements, and absolutely everything must be done by you, which is kind of insane. And then at the end, you release your source code. So this is their way of kind of giving back to the community. So you have a lot of really talented people pulling together these things over the course of a weekend. And then they release the source code, and you can go and see what other people have done. If you really like the gameplay element, you can dig through their code and really see the specifics about it. So that's the serious side. The not so serious is the Ludum Dare Jam. So these are not as hardcore. They allow individuals or teams, so you can have they don't limit the team size, so you can pull together all of your friends and kind of work on stuff. And you have 72 hours to finish it. So you have from 9 p.m. Friday till Monday to actually submit your game. And you can use third-party assets as long as you have a license to use them. You don't want to do anything sketchy there, but you can use assets created by other people. You can do derivatives of work, that kind of stuff. But if you're using something that you haven't created, you just opt out of that voting category. So if you didn't create the background music, you just say, hey, I didn't create the audio, so don't vote on the audio. But it's a lot of fun, and you get a lot of big variation on the types of games you get, the different takes on the theme, gameplay elements, from really great games to really terrible games, which is mostly what I make. So yeah, and on the Ludum Dare sites, there's a bunch of tools that they list. So there's a bunch of different kind of game engines out there, tools to create your artwork and sprites, your animations. They have tips on how to create the audio, different kind of software to create that. So there's a lot of guidance if you're a first-time game dev. You can kind of jump in, see what people in the industry are actually using, indie developers in the industry are actually using that are free out there. There's a lot of really great free tools. For game engines, most people will use one of these 3. They either use Unity or Unreal Engine. Those are kind of the 2 major ones. And then a third player is Game Maker Studio. And these are like fully integrated. You go in there, it's your development environments. this is where you import all your assets. This is where you create your games, that kind of stuff. All of these are free for various degrees. There's, each one has their own individual licensing. But for a game jam kind of stuff like this, you can download the free version and go at it. But you'll find people that go crazy and will create their own game engine or, code it all. And you'll see, text-based adventures created in Python or, there's a bunch of different tools out there. So a big variation. So I wanted to give a brief history of the 3 ones that I have done. So this was the first one that I created for Ludum Jam 33. I think this was a year ago or something like that. Last August, 2 Augusts ago. That's it. The theme was "You Are the Monster." So we, had a big brainstorming idea. What can we do? What can we do? There was a team of 2.5 of us. One was in and out throughout the weekend. And so we created the game called Meowster, where the idea is you're a cat. And cats like to, knock things off tables and destroy things when people aren't looking. So that was the idea, is you're a cat trying to destroy furniture without making too much noise. So let me give you a quick demonstration of that. Yeah, we'll just jump in. So this is Unity itself. So you create all your game assets and, script things in here. It uses C# under the hood. So you'll see all the actual code is written in C#. And this is a relatively simple game, but it was a great kind of introduction because I jumped into this without any game development experience. I have software development experience, but when you're actually creating a game, it's a whole different ballgame there. So we can give a cat a name, and you can see it pulls up kind of leaderboard stuff. And we can start playing. So you control a cute little cat down at the bottom. And actually, there we go. Let me raise the audio a little bit. So when you hit things break, and you see a little noise meter kind of going up. So the idea is that your owner's asleep. You want to cause as much havoc as possible without waking up your owner. So you can jump on things, break things kind of shatter. So it's a fun little game, and then when your noise meter fills up, that's it, game over. So the idea is to get kind of that high score there. It's a lot of fun to actually just kind of sit there and poke around and just havoc, blah, and then instantly lose kind of thing. So this was the first kind of game. The second game that I worked on was a different one. The theme was 2 buttons only. This theme was actually kind of tied. There was the votes were exactly equal, so they had nothing written to say how do you resolve a tie. So they're just here, choose one of the 2 themes. I don't remember what the other theme was, but I remember that this one was 2 buttons only. So we had a team of 5 people, just a bunch of coworkers got together and recreated a game called Shimwaubi. And the idea being, let me load it up here. Again, all of these are written in Unity. So the idea being you are a ninja trying to kill things while trying to block and parry attacks. For this one, I focused a lot more on the audio since we had a lot more people developing it. I have a musical background, so I played around with how Unity deals with audio and how to put in background music, lay over tracks, that kind of stuff. So if I start the game, should be able to do it. Yeah. Get away the stats. So this was designed for 2 buttons, so you could actually kind of go backwards and cycle through the alphabet with one of the mouse buttons, click the one you want, and enter your stuff. Then you'd start the game, and there's cool background music kind of thing that ramps up as you score points. And then you kind of teleport to the nearest thing and attack it. And then there's fun audio as the enemies die. So we were just kind of sitting in the back room just going, which was just a lot of fun. But this one, the gameplay is kind of simplistic, that kind of stuff. And then you can eventually die. Woo! So that was Shimwalbi. You'll see that there's a lot of carryover between the previous game and this game. Things that we created before, like the high score system and that kind of stuff, very easy to kind of port over. And since we were part of the Ludum Dare Jam, it's allowed because you can use past assets and that kind of stuff. So that was the last game, or the second game, and then the last one that I just completed in December. It was 3 people. It was me and a coworker, and then Michael came and joined us. And we had a very ambitious game where we created this very robust and intricate underlying system to allow you to create spells and combine spells to solve. The idea was to solve various challenges, and we realized quickly towards the end that that was a very ambitious plan. And so we got this beautiful underlying system in place and no actual gameplay. So the title is Link Pops Bubbles in a Room, because we were using Link from Legend of Zelda, one of their sprites, as kind of a placeholder, but we never got back to replacing it. So you can see the kind of variation on the quality of games that you can sometimes see in Ludum Dare. A lot of them are mostly a lot better than this, especially if you look at the compo. The actual developers that do the compo portion of it, you can get some really amazing stuff from there.
Running out of time, I think, is the main theme.
That is definitely a thing. So you see a lot of this is about the same. If we start a game, I can control a character. I can dodge stuff. I can run into enemies and die. I can shoot things. This is all, there's like an intricate spell. Like this is supposed to be like kind of like a fireball thing, and we had like shields in place, and we just didn't make it to the gameplay portion of it, which is, yeah. So that was A Link Pops Bubbles in a Room. So if you are interested in doing one of these Ludum Dares, they're really awesome. But I have some tips from what I've found out. Don't get too ambitious. Kind of limit your scope. I was really doing kind of like a retrospective on how that last game went, because it was like, oh, this is going to be so awesome, and then we ran out of time. And we realized that we should try to describe our game in a single sentence, such as, I'm a blank who does something while trying not to do something. So you want to have an action, your character should be able to do something and have some goal in mind, but also there should be some kind of failure condition, just because a lot of people are going to be playing these games and you have about like 30 seconds to capture their attention and really kind of like show off their game before the normal internet user will be like, this is boring or too much work, next kind of thing. So you really want to have some way to kind of get them engaged, and losing is a pretty good way to get people to keep playing. So for instance, with the first one I showed for Meowster, really simple. I'm a cat who tries to break furniture without making too much noise. Super simple, one sentence, and that describes what the game does. But for the last one, I'm a wizard apprentice who trains on a variety of different spells, who uses them in combinations to tackle series of challenges. Yeah, no, you don't have enough time with that. You have 72 hours, and yeah. So go for the first one, really simple ideas. If there's too many ands or plurals in that, you might want to try to limit your scope a little bit. Top tip 2, try new things, but not too many things. If you're new to game development in general, then that's great. Go in and learn a lot. Meowster was my first introduction to game development. So I learned like everything with Unity there. But don't try to, learn absolutely everything and obsess over it, because there's just not enough time. And if you're doing this kind of regularly, it's probably a good idea to pick one area to kind of focus on for each person on the team. So if you have multiple people, the kind of downfall last time was me and my coworker on the Link game. We were really focused on creating this really intricate system because it was so cool, and we're software developers, and we wanted to create this awesome thing, and there was no one else actually working on the actual gameplay.
And then I decided to work on particle effects. You can see how that integrates because I also had to figure out how to make it work with the system that they have.
Yeah, there's a lot of things when you try to take on too many new areas at once. So it can be a little overwhelming, but you got to start somewhere. So, and then the third one is have fun. That's the whole idea of this, is to learn new things, have fun, and hopefully create something awesome that you can show off and at least be like, hey, this is what I spent my weekend doing, this neat little thing. So, grab some friends. I'm sure that the next time that we have a Ludum Dare around, we'll, pull together a hackerspace group or something like that, and we can have some fun. So the next one's in April. I don't think they have actual dates up yet. I tried looking. I didn't find anything. I just know that it's usually sometime in April. So keep an eye out, ludumdare.com, or they're transitioning to ldjam.org. Something like that. Just Google Ludum Dare. You'll find it. If you're interested, talk to me. We'll possibly throw together a hackerspace group and create some awesome games. Any questions? Yes.
Not so much a question, but a point.
Yeah.
It might be useful for people here that have never done game development, which I myself have only done a little bit. It might be useful to know how much these engines and frameworks are actually doing for you, and how much you're doing, because sometimes you see a beautiful game and it just seems really overwhelming. How would you begin to create something like that? But then, like when I started dabbling in game development, I realized how much stuff the engines and the frameworks handle. So maybe if you could draw a distinction for what you filled in versus what was done for you, that would be...
That is definitely a good point. So these game engines do all of the stuff under the hood, basically. They are... you don't have to worry about any of the graphical stuff. It has things built in for kind of animations. You have to set up the bone structures yourself if you're trying to do complex 3D animation stuff. But there's just a lot of things under the hood that they gave you the capabilities to kind of hook in and use. So a lot of people think, oh man, I have to create, how do I render graphics onto the screen? You don't need to. You drag and drop, let me go to an actual scene, just a room. And if I wanted to create something, I could say, hey, here's this spear just kind of sitting there. Hold on, I need to find where the room actually is. But it's basically just kind of like a drag and drop thing. You see a bunch of assets. Oh, I wish I had a mouse here. Yeah, probably should have.
Beware the law of demos.
Yeah, that's always how it is. But it's, you basically drag and drop things. These are all, most of them are what's called component-based. So you have your game objects. So for instance, I have a player, and a player has a bunch of different components on it. So I have a player control script, which is written in C#, and that says, hey, when you press the left mouse button, you move left. When you press the right mouse button, or the right arrow key, you move right, and that kind of stuff. And then it takes care of physics. So if you're trying to do anything physical, it does all the calculations for you. You just say, hey, this object has this mass and this gravity, and it will do that for you. You can add in colliders. So there's collision objects where it will take care of all the collisions, and you can use that as triggers. So if two objects collide, you can delete one. So there's a lot of stuff under the hood where it's not that bad to just kind of drag and drop and hook things together. And Unity is used by so many people. There's a lot of really great articles out there. So if you have an idea, you can just look online, and someone probably already has an answer for you. So yeah, that's a good point. It can seem a little overwhelming, but it's really not if you use one of these. If you're trying to hook one up yourself, well, then you're in for a little bit more of a manual process there. But both Unity and Unreal Engine will do a lot for you. Yes?
So apparently there's a mini Ludum Dare that effectively starts now and runs till February 5th. So
a mini Ludum Dare for 2 weeks? That's weird. If you want to jump in now, apparently there's something going on now. I haven't heard of the mini Ludum Dare stuff going on before. So
ludumdare.com/combo.
Okay.
What's the theme?
Retro challenge.
Yeah, the themes, they're interesting. There's a lot of really good ideas at the start, and they're varied, super varied kind of stuff. I'm drawing a blank on some of the options from last time, but you'll go through the list that's. Yeah, I can't remember that. But you'll also see that a lot of people are disappointed at the end because it's like you have all of these great options and then the community's like, one room. And you're like, what do I do with that? So that's also a great part is it's, since you don't know what's coming up, you have to like brainstorm ideas then. And if you spend too long brainstorming, well, then you're not actually making a game, kind of wasting time kind of stuff. So it really just keeps you on the ball to go through and complete a project. Any other questions? I don't see so. Okay, that's it for me. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Chris.